I watched an hour and a half long meeting with Trump and all the generals we all heard about, so you don't have to. I'm about to create a series of my personal highlights of everything that was said. In order, besides this first one, I'm about to show y'all because I believe it's the most important. So be sure to check all my pages just in case any of these platforms want to be sensitive because it's about to get deep.
We are rapidly moving forward with the first ever sixth generation fighter jet. I didn't name it. I did not name it. Boeing came in and they said, sir, this is our submittal. It's the greatest fighting jet ever done. And you know, they're testing all these planes, all the companies are testing, and this one tested like through the roof. And they said, we'd like to name it the F-47. I said, let me think about it. Then after thinking for about 2 seconds, I said, okay. You know what that means, 47, I'm 47. So I'm 45, 46, and 47, you know, if you think about it. I just don't want the credit for 46. I don't want to have their open borders and people coming in from all over the world, including jails and mental institutes. I don't want that on my record, but I like having it. We're investing tens of billions of dollars in modernizing our nuclear deterrence capabilities like never before. And we've begun construction on what we call the Golden Dome missile defense shield. It'll be the most sophisticated in the world. You watched it do well until they had some problems at the end with a little bit of a lack of ammunition, defensive ammunition, but they've got that taken care of. But I tell you, it's what we're doing is so good, and we deserve it. You know, we help other countries with it. We don't have it ourselves. And Canada called me a couple of weeks ago. They want to be part of it. To which I said, well, why don't you just join our country? You become 51 and become the 51st state, and you get it for free. So I don't know if that made a big impact, but it does make a lot of sense. It actually makes, because they're having a hard time up there in Canada now, because as you know, with tariffs, everyone's coming into our country. We have more investment than we've ever had before, $17 trillion coming in. As an example, in 4 years, Biden didn't have $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion more than that in 8 months coming in. And they're coming in from Canada, Mexico, from Europe, from all over. AI, auto plants. Everybody's coming back to the United States.
When he said he was the 45th, 46th, and 47th president, but he don't want to take credit for the 46th, it's because the demon ranch took over, the hostile takeover of the government that already happened. I always tell y'all to watch that Trump True Purpose video because it shows everything they was planning on doing that Trump was reversing before the reset. So I'm about to show you a clip of this video I made back in 2023, proving to y'all that Trump never finished his term and Biden was never the president. Everyone thought he was because they controlled the media.
Here's Alex Azar. Was there not a Czar, Alexander, that started wars everywhere? This is history repeating itself. So do y'all remember when Trump was downplaying the situation in the very beginning by saying he's an alarmist, everything's under control, and his most famous line is just one person coming from China. Also note, it says the Trump administration wasn't planning on declaring a public health emergency. I know it may not sound like a lot, but as long as he delayed it, he literally saved millions of people with all the delays he created in their plan. Because once again, he believes in free will, not the coercion, because they have to face their karma for that. So eventually, Alex Azar went ahead and issued a public health emergency. This forced Trump to issue a national emergency. When he issued a national emergency, he gave up all of his power to FEMA. This is why immediately after he declares a national prayer day, because he knows the power of manifestation, and he knew he lost all control over the situation. So that was his final attempt for us to use our power to prevent this whole thing from happening. So FEMA isn't what we think it is. We all should have known that when we seen them coffins all around the country. And it was for this particular reason for what they're planning right now. FEMA was created in a series of executive orders. A presidential executive order, whether constitutional or not, becomes law simply by its publication in the Federal Registry. Congress is bypassed. Executive Order 12148 created a federal emergency management agency that is to interface with the Department of Defense and the Civil Defense Planning and Funding. A emergency czar will be appointed. So back to this guy, Alex Azar. He is the one that initiated a public health emergency, which forced Trump to issue a national emergency, which led to him losing power and giving it all to FEMA. So he's the one that initiated the pandemic. And what makes this so obvious is his name. He is a czar, right? And he issued the emergency. Not only that, he was the first chairman of the White House House Sauce 19 task force for only 1 month, meaning he only came in to initiate the war. So back to the executive orders. EO number 12656. This is what allowed the lockdowns and gives them the right to federalize the National Guard to seal all borders and take control of U.S. airspace and all ports of entry.
As y'all can see, at the end of the clip, we are literally at the beginning of the end. Because clearly back then, I said it starts when they federalize the National Guard, in which they are clearly doing right now. But I'm gonna keep on telling y'all, he literally is reversing everything he's planning on doing on us to them. So when Trump issued that national emergency this time, he already knew what to do. And this is why they had the nationwide injunctions, all in order to stop Trump's executive orders, because he was targeting them, the elites, the ones that oppressed everybody, because they knew his executive orders bypassed the Congress. And we all know what con means, and if you don't know what progress means, it means a step. So they progressively taking steps back. That's what Congress really means. And clearly he opposes Congress. So when the national emergency happened, right, FEMA was supposed to be activated. But instead of FEMA, guess who was activated this time? It was a Doge. And I explained that to y'all through my videos. Go through all my videos. I'm putting everything down to y'all, but now everything's coming down to the end and it all makes sense. So Doge replaced FEMA. And as y'all can see, FEMA interfaces with the Department of Defense. And as you can see, the Department of Defense is now the Department of War. It has changed. Y'all remember back in the day when Trump was trying to build that wall to separate us from Mexico? But all the demons convinced everybody that it was bad? It's because he knew their plans the whole time. As y'all can see, he talking about they bringing the criminals through the borders. As y'all can see through the videos from back in the day, it wasn't just quote unquote Mexicans, it was people from all around the world coming across the Mexico border. And a lot of them was military aged men, just in case y'all forgot. And they already had bank cards. And on the other end, they bring in the specialists that also work for the Department of Defense, as I broke that down in my Truth About Visas video. They'll use them to bring the quote unquote, like I say, specialists through here, which would be the doctors. As y'all know, people had an uproar about that recently because they upped the visas to $100,000 a year. Also, he talks about the Golden Dome. As y'all can see, I made a video a few months ago about that, in which correlates to the Trump True Purpose video also. And I'll explain how we try to make peace around the world, and the ones close by, trying to get them to join into the states to be included in the Golden Dome. Because I believe he is the one that's going to set off the trumpets of the apocalypse because of the asteroids. So I always try to explain all the bloodlines here. I'm going to keep it simple. Some are immortal, meaning they cannot die, and some are mortal, meaning they can die. And those are the ones he's trying to save. He will have control over the ones that wasn't sent to the underworld, while the immortal ones are free to roam Earth and the universe. There still will be people that need to be governed on the mortal side. So right now, he's just making sure none of the real evil ones make it through somehow, because they have too much knowledge. The universal laws never changes, and our enemies somehow created deceptive loopholes. But like I said, this is about to be a series, and this is just part 1. Anyways, I hope y'all picked up what I put down. Y'all know how I keep it. Y'all be gods. Peace.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team. And I was told that, sir, you won't hear a murmur in the room. I said, we got to loosen these guys up a little bit. So you just have a good time. But I want to thank Secretary Hegseth and General Kane, General Raisin Kane for a reason, they call him.
You see, that's why I like that guy. When he's being extremely direct, most people may think he's joking. And obviously that was the intro. So we all know about the government shutdown and how the way it opens the doors for mass firings. And we all know who does it the best.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. 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 You're fired. 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 You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. 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 You're fired. 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 You're fired. 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 This country over the last 4 years with the incompetence. There could be no higher honor than to serve as your commander-in-chief. It is a great honor. I look at you, you're just incredible people. Central casting, I might add. To each and every one of you, I thank you for your unwavering devotion to the armed forces and to the country that we've all sworn a sacred oath to defend. We all have that oath, every one of us.
When he mentions his last 4 years, like I always tell y'all, he was always a president. He never finished his first term, meaning Biden was never the president because FEMA took over. And he always mentions central casting because these are actors in the movie that we are living. They know what's about to happen, we just don't. That's also why he emphasized the sacred oath that all the generals took just in case they're one of the actors playing a negative role.
But in the end, we did it. And I have to be honest, it's so popular. I thought it would be met with fury on the left, but they're sort of giving up, I must be honest with you. They've had it. They've had it with Trump. They've been after me for so many years now. Here we are. Here we are. Come to the White House anytime you'd like. No, they've given up. They're bad, a lot of bad people. But all over, that's been so popular. It's been very popular. I really thought that we were going to have to sort of fight it through. There's been no fight. There's been no fight. Like what I called the Gulf of America, the Gulf of America, because to me it was always the Gulf of America. I could never understand. We have 92% of the frontage, and for years, actually 350 years, they were there before us. It was called the Gulf of Mexico. I just had this idea. I'm looking at a map. I'm saying, we have most of the frontage. Why is it Gulf of Mexico? Why isn't it the Gulf of America? And I made the change, and it went smoothly.
So in that clip, he's basically bragging how the way he beat them at their own game, and then showing us how easy it is to change history, in which should make everyone question, is his story really true?
We're a little bit threatened by Russia recently, and I sent a submarine, nuclear submarine, the most lethal weapon ever made. Number one, you can't detect it. There's no way. We're 25 years ahead of Russia and China in submarines. Russia's actually second in submarines. China's third, but they're coming up. They're coming up. They're way lower in nuclear too, but in 5 years they'll be equal. They're coming up. And you don't have to be that good with nuclear. You could have 1/20th what you have now and still do the damage. That would be, that'd be so horrendous. But I announced that, based on his mention of nuclear, and it was really a stupid person that works for him mentioned the word nuclear, I moved a submarine or two, I won't say about the two, over to the coast of Russia, just to be careful.
Who would have known he took Russia's threats seriously? And think about how the way he said we're 25 years ahead. But ask yourself, why does it feel like we're behind everything with Russia and China?
People deserve nothing less than the very best, and we're never going to let them down. And if we can solve wars instead of you having to fight wars, wouldn't that be wonderful, right? Wouldn't that be wonderful? That's why one of the first executive orders I signed upon taking office was to restore the principle of merit. That's the most important word, other than the word tariff. I love tariffs. Most beautiful word. But I'm not allowed to say that anymore. I said tariff is my favorite word. I love the word tariff. We're becoming rich as hell. We have a big case in front of the Supreme Court, but I can't imagine, because this is what other nations have done to us. And we have, great legal grounds, but you still have a case. It would be very bad if something happened. But I said, my favorite word in the English dictionary is the word tariff. And people thought that was strange. And the fake news came over and they really hit me hard on it. They said, what about love? What about religion? What about God? What about wife, family? I got killed when I said tariff is my favorite word. So I changed it. It's now my fifth favorite word. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But they hit me hard. But it is. I mean, when you look at, we've taken in trillions of dollars. We're rich again. And there'll never be, when we finish this out, there'll never be any wealth like what we have. Other countries were taking advantage of us for years and years. You know that better than anybody. And now we're treating them fairly, but the money coming in.
Notice how the way he said solve wars instead of fighting wars. That's the reversal of energy for the reset, because they've been fighting wars to create energy for them. Also, when you mention the principle of merit, it simply means hiring people based on their ability to actually do the job. You see, their principles was DEI, meaning people from all the other nations that move here to America get jobs first before the actual American people, or based off feelings, if they like you or not. No qualifications at all. And that should be for everything, because like, how would you have high-ranking officials out of shape, but the lower-ranking officials will probably clean them straight off the ground with ease? Or it's like, you might be at a gym and everybody that works there is overweight, but they're training people on how to lose weight. You got people owning and supervising restaurants, and they don't even know how to cook. This is why it seems like the higher you go up, the less you do. But the more you know about the paperwork, and usually these people are so lazy, they'll steal more for you, so they gotta do less work. And that's what the principle of DEI and feeling-based jobs caused. They'll always tell you to run your own business, trick people to work for you, and never tell them their business side. If that's not deception, I don't know what is. He also mentions treating the countries fairly with tariffs, because they've been charging us tariffs our whole lives, but they've been skimming off of us with all their free trade because we've been paying for it. For instance, we see all the taxes we gotta pay for everything we buy. Why do we gotta pay taxes for things we buy? It's because they're not paying their tariffs. We are. So just imagine how much money that really is if we ain't gotta pay a quote-unquote tax on everything we buy now. That's specifically tailored to their prices that they should be paying us. Because in all reality, it's a privilege to literally sell in America. Because as I proved to y'all and showed y'all plenty of times, the whole global financial system / energy system originated here in America with the people that they're stealing from, the original Americans.
CNN, when we came back, fake news CNN, oh, their camera just went off. You know, their camera, every time I mention, they turn the camera up because it's never good. They say this is a problem, but I don't blame them. You're better off keeping it off. But they have some scammer reporter who started saying, without any knowledge, that he may not have hit the targets as well as they thought. It may not have been obliteration. He did hit the targets, and I got to give us a little credit, right? It was obliteration, it turned out.
I'm sure y'all always notice how the way he always on CNN ass. That's because he knows the whole purpose of it. It's way deeper than you could imagine. So I showed y'all the declaration of war against the United States of America by NASA plenty of times before. It literally showed us the last 20 years before it happened, and it posted in this year in this document. CNN syndrome is basically brainwashing. When y'all see capture, torture Americans in living color in prime time, who do y'all see always getting attacked by police and all these nonsense videos, people getting off, so on and so forth, which does psychological damage to us because we know why they're doing it, but everyone else just gaslights us. Then we have attacks within the continental United States. Y'all see the RF against the brain, y'all see when they put up during the pandemic. Bio is a GMO. Critical infrastructure, for instance, is the media, information war, etc. Y'all get the picture, and y'all see the serious side war, even collateral damage. That's how serious this really is. They don't even care if they lose their own. So he basically explained how CNN literally just remixing every story just to fit their own narrative, and people literally be following it without having any knowledge, like no thinking power to think outside of what's being told. Shit, crazy.
Of the military. the vote that I got from the military, and they're vicious people, that we have to fight, just like you have to fight vicious people. Mine are a different kind of vicious, but they spread all these horrible, they made up statements and said what I said about everything, but even about the military. But fortunately, the military didn't believe it. It's hard. They make up a statement and they said, you say it. We had 25 people that said he never said that. 25. We had 25 affidavits. And they said, well, we're going with it anyway. These sleazebags. And that's why the press is really losing all power, because people aren't believing it. We need an honest press. We need borders. We need borders. We need an honest press. We need fair elections. Those three things. And we don't have an honest press. We have a really corrupt press. But we fight through the corrupt press. And the people understand you have to do this stuff a lot. You have to go on television a lot, because you can't get a fair shake if you're going to rely on somebody else. They don't understand. They've destroyed the image of media now is at the lowest point it's ever been. It's lower than Congress. Can you believe that? It's something. But together with many of you in the room, we've brought back the fundamental principle that defending the homeland is the military's first and most important priority. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly. After spending trillions of dollars defending the borders of foreign countries, with your help, we're defending the borders of our country from now on. We're not going to let this happen. Biden let people come in from prisons, mental institutions, drug dealers, murderers. We had 11,488 murderers allowed into our country by this guy who had no clue. He had no clue. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but he had no clue. The people that ran the office, the White House, were people that surrounded him, radical left lunatics that are brilliant people, but are dumb as hell when it came to policy and common sense. And they allowed people from all over the world, from the Congo. They opened up prisons in the Congo. They came into our country totally unmatched, unvetted, unchecked. And from all over, South America, not just South America. You think South America, no, but from all over. A lot came in from Venezuela. Venezuela emptied its prison population into our country. That's why they have Tren de Aragua, one of the worst gangs ever. But we took care of them. We took good, strong care of them. And I just want to thank the National Guard in Washington, D.C. It's embarrassing to say this. Now I can say it because we solved it. But Washington, D.C. was the most unsafe, most dangerous city in the United States of America. And to a large extent, beyond. And beyond that, you go to Afghanistan, they didn't have anything like that. You go to countries that you would think there's problems, they didn't have that. And now Washington, D.C., after 12 days of serious intensity, we took out 1,700 career criminals. If you have 5 career criminals, they can make your numbers look very bad because they'll commit many crimes a day. But we took out 1,700, and they took them out. There was no doubt who the boss was. They did an unbelievable job. Then they started even cleaning. I said, I don't want them doing that, sir. They were cleaning it up. I drove through it 2 days ago. It was beautiful. People are walking down the street holding hands, man and wife, coming.
Notice how the way he mentions fair press. It's because they be shadow banning and manipulating the media all the time. That's why I be having these radicalized people always in my comments, even though I'm shadow banned. But as y'all can see, it's slowly changing because they changed the algorithms to how it should be anyway. So people have free choice to think what they want to think because it was so manipulated. People don't realize they had no choice. They only know what they see because they don't do no research beyond what they hear. And that leads them to act off their emotions every single time. No logic or facts. And he clearly said that we are under invasion from within. and repeated everything I've been telling y'all for the longest, that people from other countries or other nations is literally running governments here in America and bringing their people over while funding them our funds. You know what I'm saying? And oppressing us. Not only that, they're taking our money to fund wars, even in their own countries, to make people want to leave and come here. Then they end up taking over all the businesses, then eventually the financial system with the banks. He mentioned DC being the most dangerous city in America because it's literally their hub, where all the corrupt elites be doing all day illegal shit. Because remember, DC is technically where all their citizens are supposed to be at. So they can import anything they want and feel okay that they can live there because technically it's their land. But like I said, that's what a lot of elites was, because we know that's where the, like I say, the quote unquote capital is. So of course, then people gonna be living close by, bring their people in and anything they need. Cause like I said, they are the ones that were supporting all the crime.
Bravely helped us secure the nation's capital and make America safe for the American people. It's amazing. The whole world is watching. Everybody in the White House, they come up to me, young women, sir, thank you. I know immediately what they're thanking. They don't have to say it. They walk to work now to the White House. We haven't had a crime in Washington in so long because we got the careers. We call them the careers. We got these lunatics out, and they'll never be any good. You know, I hate to tell this to the liberal media. You could spend time with them. You could do whatever you want. You could send them to the finest schools, which they couldn't get into anyway. Mentally, they couldn't get in. But no matter what you do, they'll never be good. They're bad. They're career criminals. I don't know. Maybe they were born that way. Some people don't like me to say that, but maybe they were. Certainly some were. Together with the leaders here today, we're also restoring a needed focus on defeating threats in the Western Hemisphere. Throughout this region, cartel terrorists have been allowed to wage a relentless campaign of death and destruction on our country, all because we had weak leadership on top. And we did a great job with it first term, but this is something else what we're doing now. We're taking it to the next level, probably next level times 3. But we had COVID come up, and we had to take care of that. We did a great job with COVID. We had the therapeutics. It was just Regeneron, so many things we did for COVID, but we had to focus on that, and every other country in the world was being decimated by COVID. So we had to change gear a little bit to take care of that. But under our leadership, the military is now the knife's edge in combating this sinister enemy. We have to put the traffickers and cartels on notice, and we've done that. And we put them, a lot of them, we've called them a terrorist organization, which is actually a big thing to do. Nobody's done it, but
He mentioned the career criminals is born that way. Because like I always say, there's people that is born of negative polarity. Meaning in order to feel good, they have to do something bad. They react off emotion, not logic. And he basically mentioned how the way their kids is getting into the best schools. And obviously that also means the best jobs. Without any real work. As I always say, everything was DEI based or feelings based on hiring and acceptance. Meaning the kids that can make it on merit never had a chance to make it into those schools or jobs, therefore robbing them of experiences, opportunities, and salaries. And you mentioned how the way it had changed gears because of this pandemic. He had to prevent them from taking everybody out, and most of us still don't even know it.
we'll never hesitate to defend our people from threats of violence, from the horrible plague that's taking place from within. The Iran nuclear power, the Iran, all of the great power that we thought existed, we blew it out to kingdom. We took advantage of it, and we just really took advantage of it, and it was a beautiful thing to see, and that's what military power can achieve. That's why I chose Raising Cane. He's fantastic, by the way. I hope you all agree. If anybody disagrees, could I please have your hand? Who disappears that Raising Cane is no good? Just raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. All right. That means you're okay. That means that he's okay now, but I saw his results. You know, he took out ISIS. I was told it was going to take 4 years. It took 4 weeks. I went to see him, and he took him out in 4 weeks, knocked him out, knocked him to hell. And I was told by military people it was going to take 4 to 5 years to do it. And I don't even know if we'll have it then, sir. These were the Washington generals. I call them the television generals. But Raisin Cain did it in 4 weeks, took out 100% of the ISIS caliphate. As a result of these actions and many others since my inauguration, we're witnessing the triumphant return.
So the people that took over America from within was helping Iran. If I go to my YT page, I got down there. Y'all see this video right here. It's called The Truth About the War, Israel, and versus Iran and sleeper cells. I go into deep detail how the way Saturn basically has a bloodline with the dragons, and then he mixed with the humans as well, which will be the Israelites. The more positive side of his bloodline and the more negative side of his bloodline will be with the dragons. And Iran is basically Iran, which is Uranus and Saturn. That's where they landed at when they came here on Earth. And that's why he blew up their base. He also mentioned how the way they're intentionally extending wars by saying they took out ISIS in 4 weeks, while the Washington generals, referred to as TV generals, said it can take 4 to 5 years. You see, all the wars we see are fake, or I'll say created, and they always come through with that solution. Most of the businesses we see are fake. Most of the jobs we see are fake. And that's exactly how the negative polarity people can be on top, because they don't have the same work ethic, logic, empathy, etc. that we have. But as I can see, this is part 5, and I just put all these up because these are all highlights to that meeting. And I hope y'all picked up what I put down. Y'all know how I keep it. Y'all be gods. Peace.